Hello and welcome. My name is Chris from Pixel Splash Website Design, based here in Geelong for Geelong businesses, and you're watching our video tutorial series on how to edit basic content in your WordPress site. Now in this episode we're going to take an advanced look at how you can edit content on your site. In fact, how to create a page from scratch and build it from scratch. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the back end of our website, like we are here, and we go Pages, we go Add New. Now there's a few ways you can do this. You can go Add New if you want, or you can simply go to the Pages section and then there's a button there that says Add New as well. We're going to go right from the start, okay? So the first thing we want to do is give our page a name. Now this name's not going to appear anywhere on the page, it's just for our admin purposes so that when we're moving the page around in menus, we know what it's called. So let's call it Tutorial Page. Okay, now when you open up a new page, you'll notice that in the previous episode when you watched it, there was the Avira Layout Builder, which is a quick and easy drop and drag feature, and you can't see that anywhere at the moment. That's because this button here hasn't been clicked yet, so Advanced Layout Editor. So click that and it will open up the Avira Layout Builder. Now we can start making things for our site. So let's start with some basic building blocks, okay? So maybe we want to put we'll make a container, so we'll use a color section and we'll grab it and pull it in here, and then we're going to put maybe, let's go third, so let's put a third here, drag a third here, and a third here, and a third here, or you could clone them like we talked about in the last episode, where you simply click this button here and it clones it 3 times. Now let's grab an element and put an element into our container. You would have learned about this previously as well. These are all the elements that we can grab, and there's also some media elements as well, like the images that we can grab. So let's grab a heading, and pull it into the middle section, and then let's grab, apart from the media, let's grab 2 images. Grab an image there, and grab an image and pull it there. Alright, now let's edit this special heading and we'll call it something. So let's call it this amazing page looks great, and we can start to choose some of the settings for this element now. So each element will have a particular amount of settings that it can have. So for instance, we can change the header type, header 1 being the most important heading on the page and header 6 being the least important. So because this is straight up the front, it's the first heading on the page, it's a H1, it's the most important. We can choose the default style. So we can choose it to be left, centered, or centered italic. So let's choose centered. Default size, we can choose that, or we can give it a pixel value. So let's actually make it really big. Let's make it a 60. We can add a subheading if we want. So let's add a subheading, why not? A cool byline. And we'll get the subheading size, we'll make it 22 pixels. And padding, I'll come back to in a minute. So just put pause on that one. Let's give it a color. Let's make it, let's give it a custom color. Select a color and we'll make it this kind of ready color. And let's click save. Now let's preview. And when you notice, there's actually some settings over here that we'll have to change to make it look like a page. But I'll just show you what it will look like at the moment. Let's preview this now. So you'll notice that our any header that we have will be already in the page, and any footer we already have in the page will be in there. But at the moment we don't really actually have any, we haven't set up the header or the footer yet for this page. So you'll notice that there's just this standard content that's basically replacing most of the stuff. So we've got our content here. We've also got this sidebar here. We want to get rid of that, and we want to get rid of this stuff too on this page. But if you want to, you can keep them in the future. But I'll show you how you get rid of that stuff right now. So we'll go back into our page, and first of all, let's get rid of this header and the breadcrumbs. So we go over to the page layout, and we're looking for title bar. So we want to hide both the title and that, and the visibility of the header. We're going to hide the header on this page. And the footer, let's hide the footer and the socket. And you'll learn about the footer and the socket later in separate tutorials. And let's hide the sidebar too. So we'll say no sidebar. So now when we preview that, obviously it'll be a big difference to the page, you'll see. While that loads, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Great. So the header's gone, no longer header, and there's no longer any footer. So let's start building more things on this page. So let's make these images. So let's grab some images from our media library. So we learned about this last time. Simply we'll grab an image. Let's grab this one, that looks good. And we can choose once again to style it however we want. So we can align it center, which we will want. We don't want any hover effects. We don't want it to link anywhere. Links, you can send it to a page. We've only got 2 pages here, but we can send it to the test page if it clicks on that. We can add a caption if you want. You can add animation, which we will do. We'll do pop in. Oh, let's do something cool. Let's go full rotation. That sounds pretty drastic. Let's save that. And then rather than creating the other image and sending all the properties, let's just copy this one to make it faster. How did that look? Preview. Let's see the difference between that. As you can see here, our heading and our byline. Whoa, and a drastic effect. And because these are links, there is this hover effect as well. Let's add some more content. So let's do something drastic. Let's go color section, pull it down here. And color sections are great because you can put content within color sections. So if you grab any other of these sections, you can only put them down. You can't put any boxes within them. So you can't put a box within a box of these ones, but you can grab this color section and then you can put boxes inside it, because all of these boxes as well have editable properties. So let me show you what that means. So we can actually edit this box that this picture is contained in, and we can do lots of things to it. We can set its height, we can set margin, which I'll explain again in a second, the layout, we can add padding and a border if we like. So let's do some things on this. Let's give it a border first of all, 1 pixel, and we'll give it a light gray color. And let's actually grab this color, copy it, and we'll set a background color and we'll use that same color. Actually, let's make the border a bit darker then, otherwise you won't really see it, will you? We don't need it. Let's fade in, and I'll save this first. You know what we'll do? Let's actually delete this box and copy this whole box now so the other box has exactly the same properties. And you will see the difference now. Because we can apply styles, not just the contents within the box, but to the boxes themselves. And so if we go over here now it won't look very pretty, but that's okay. You will see the difference. You see now, the box is actually styled. So there's this gray and this border property, which looks cool. Let's say we remember before that this is actually a box as well. So we can actually set the properties for that box. So let's go in here and let's set the properties for that box. Now this is a color section, so it has even more options. You can set the padding and any border styles straight from this page, or you can give it a background. Now before we added a color, but let's do something cool. Let's add an image. So let's insert an image as a background. And I like this picture here. And we'll make sure that it's a large size so it covers the whole thing. Insert. Now we've got some more options here. So we can set the background to scroll or fix or parallax. So if it's on scroll, basically it will look like a standard image on a website. It won't move. You pull the browser down and it will stay as it is. If you click fixed, as the browser moves, the image will move as well. And I'll show you how that looks. The image position, we want it to be center, and we want it not to repeat, but we want it to stretch to fit the whole container. So basically the way a background image works is you can, if you set to no repeat, depending on how big the picture is, if it gets to its full width, it will then repeat itself in horizontal and vertical directions. But you can set it to not repeat, or you can set it to tile horizontally or vertically. You can set it to stretch itself so that it fits the whole thing no matter what size, and we'll just crop the boundaries. Or you can scale it to fit, which means it will fit as much of itself as it can in the box, but it won't crop itself. So we're going to go stretch to fit because that gives the nicest look. And we can also put a background overlay. So let's do that. That will basically put a color across the top of that image, but it will be semi-transparent. And we want it to be, let's make it like a pink color. Let's go save and preview, and we should get some pretty dramatic effects from that as well, actually. Let's see what it does. Wow, that's pretty intense. So you can see a picture is stretched to fit the whole container, and we can see that there's this pink overlay. Let's get rid of that pink overlay. Go over here and edit the color section, and let's go remove that overlay. And let's see, it might look a little bit better. And let's actually change this to, let's change it to white, because pink is kind of getting a bit lost in here. Save, let's go preview. And that will change the color of the heading and the byline. Great. Now, see, the white's actually getting a little bit lost. So let's actually give it a overlay, but a darker color than pink. Let's give it actually a black overlay. Or maybe not black. Black's probably too intense. Let's give it like a gray overlay. Let's see what that looks like. That'll really make that white text pop and stand out. Great, that's looking a little bit better. Cool. So now let's add some extra elements so you can see how they work, and then I'll describe to you what padding does. All right, so we've got a section here. Let's grab another color section. Oh, we've already got one. Sorry, I'll just leave that one, and I'll put some text in that one. A big text block. Let's edit this text block, and we've explored most of the options with text. Let's just copy this a couple of thousand times to give it a bit of substance. The other options are you can change the default font size, which we will do to 17 or 18, and you can change the colors. But you can also just change the colors here if you want. Let's save that, preview that. And we'll see what that looks like, and then I will show you what padding does. Great, so now we have a big block of text underneath here. Now, what is padding and what is margin, you might be asking? Well, let me show you a visual description before I show you how it actually works. So if you can imagine that this is a box here. It runs the full width, 100% of this area here. Now, a box can have edges, what we call borders, and it can have the contents inside, which is, in this case, the text you see here, and it can have padding. So think of when you ship a parcel somewhere, if it has valuable goods inside, you usually get a bit of foam, and you put the foam around the contents so that it doesn't hit the side of the box. That's what padding is. So if I show you a visual diagram here, you'll see here, this is a visual, what we call the box model. So this is the content, this is the padding, and this is representing the border, and margin is on the outside. And so if you put more padding in, it will squeeze the content in and push it into the middle of the box. At the moment, we don't actually have any padding at all in this box, and so the text is going to full width. So if we go back, and we won't change the text block, we'll change the color section, and let's give it some large padding, and we'll see what happens. So it says default, let's give it large padding. Save it and preview. Now you'll watch what happens here. You'll anticipate this getting pushed in on all sides, being squished in a bit. And that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Let's see what we can do here. Okay. This is what we should do. We should give it a container. Push that container in. Now let's preview and see what it does. Okay, so it's given it a bit of padding. What we can do is, if we have two boxes, and we put this in here, we have a second box, and preview it. Now let's go into each of these containers and see what we can do. Let's edit the column itself, so the box. So we're going to edit the box around this thing here. So you can see here we've got custom top and bottom margin. If you click this, it will allow you to move the margin. Now if we go to the box model, the margin is the space outside the box. And so if you give it the top margin positive values, it will push away this way, push down. If you give the bottom positive margins, it will push it up. And so we can give these values to each individual element to move them vertically and even horizontally. If we change the left and right margin paddings, we can move it this way. And so that's generally what determines movement in the vertical and horizontal sense, is the margins that we give it. So let's give it a margin of 60 on top. And it's going to give it 60 on bottom. We don't want to give it 60 on bottom. We want it to give it 0 on bottom. And let's see, and we applied it to this one here, so let's see what that one does. What we should anticipate is this block here moving 60 pixels down this way. It's what should happen in theory. Let's see if it works in practice. Okay, so what it's done is it's moved the whole row 60 this way. So if we moved it, let's just say, I think because let's give it a really drastic figure. Let's give it 500. Let's see what it does. There you go. You can see it's applied to both of these objects, and now there's huge padding here. And so that's what margin and padding can do, is that it can make things really, really big, push them around basically. Let's just do some other things really quickly. We'll make some interesting elements over here. So let's get rid of this one, and let's remove all that margin on that because it looks a bit silly, it being so big. Let's just turn that off. So we've got a 3/4. Let's grab a 1/4. Where's the 1/4? There we go. Grab one of these, put it in here. Now let's give this row, this column here, let's give it a background image. So we go layout, we go border, let's give it a background image, this one here, and we'll make sure it's full size, and we'll make sure it's in the center, and we'll make sure it's stretched to fit. Let's give it a border of 2 pixels, and we'll give it a dark color. Let's make sure, I'll give it a padding in just a second, and we'll grab this block and we'll stick it in there, and I'll show you what this will look like. So what we're expecting is all this to be removed and this to be pulled up because we got rid of the margin on top, and we're going to see another element down here, a 3/4 and a 1/4, and the 3/4 is going to have a background on it and some text inside it, like this, with a border. Now you can see here that this text goes all the way to the end, so there's no padding in this at all. Okay, so let's put some padding in, and I'll show you what I mean about padding. Let's go this one, and let's go edit the column, and we're going to put in some padding layout. Now you can choose to apply the padding to every single, the top, the bottom, the left and the right, or just to one side, whether it's, or any sides, any number of sides. Let's apply the padding to all of it just for a second. Let's give it 50, let's give it 100 pixels of padding, and you'll learn how much 100 pixels is the more you play. Basically, it's hard to explain how much that will be, and plus the smaller the screen, the bigger the 100 pixels will seem, because it'll take up more of the page. But we're anticipating all this text to be squished in. There you go, look at that. So it's all been squished in to fit in, and we've got 100 pixels here, 100 pixels here, 100 pixels here, and 100 pixels here, and that's what I mean by padding. And so if we apply padding to just one of these sides, you can anticipate that the padding will squish it one way. And so if we go layout, and we're going to get rid of that. Well, let's just go 0 for the moment. So we're setting them all to 0, and we just want the top to give it 100, and let's say the left to give it 100. Save. You know what? We'll give this a bit of background color too. You know what? Let's get rid of this image and let's give it a background color, something that's light. So our text will show. Make sure our text is black as well. Text block, change the color to black. And just to be safe, we'll change it here too. So let's see how that looks. So we're anticipating this padding on the right and the bottom to be removed, and just the padding on the left and the padding on the top. This background will change to the light blue and the text will be black, not this grey default color. That's what we're anticipating happening. And look, there you go. You can see the padding on the bottom has been removed, the padding on the right's been removed, the padding on top is still there, 100, and the 100 on the side. And so there's some advanced techniques that you can use, things like padding and margin and borders, placing blocks within blocks, and using different kind of headings and different kind of effects to create a really cool looking page. And so stick around for some more video tutorials on how you can edit the basic content of your WordPress site.